Hey everyone, Elizabeth here. So hope you're doing well. I filmed another video last week. I never got it to upload actually because it just kind of failed halfway through. So I'm going to do this one really quick and then upload the other one. So they may kind of go hand in hand a little bit with each other. But I wanted to just share some thoughts in regards to kind of feeding the consciousness of the rebellious energy instead of feeding the energy or consciousness for more of that establishment. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now, obviously with the whole, I've been a little bit off the news, but I just know briefly stuff like with the Twitter and the Elon Musk. And the thing is, when you're Elon Musk's, especially his mother, has been advertised with a lot of Masonic symbols. And as you have gone, if you have gone deep into the subject, you know it's a big club and it's really hard to escape or get out of that club. So to some degree, it's almost like being like a dolphin at an aquarium or an elephant or an animal at a zoo. Like you have some degree of freedom to move, but you are enclosed or captured by or encompassed by four walls. So, you have certain degrees of freedom, but you're still trapped. You're not in nature. You don't have all of this free will choice. You're still trapped. So that's what I kind of think about all of these celebrities, is that in some ways, they are all a part of this club and this establishment. They are all playing our emotions on both sides of the coin. It is possible that some of these people have awakened to some form of morality and are starting to rebel against what they've been a part of. That is definitely a possibility, but we won't really know until things start to expose more truth in the future. But the one thing you have to really just go back is the basics of following the money. And so as I explained in another video, I don't know if it's the one actually that I didn't upload yet, if somebody like Russell Brand is looping people into a digital currency that is still connected to the Rothschilds, obviously what he's doing is steering the herd back toward the oppressors. And so same thing, if Elon Musk, if all of this money still goes back to Vanguard, it's the same thing. It's this infinity loop or this circle that we're this negative spiral or vicious circle that we're never trying to get out of, where we have to break free from the establishment. If you understand the zodiac signs very well, if you understand what an Aquarius stands for, it does stand for the people, and it is an energy of rebellion, mainly the rebellion against the establishment. Age of Pisces was 2,000 years of ruling establishments, okay? So that during that time frame, Pisces also rules money, it rules secrecy. And so what we are trying to do in the sky is the water bearer who is dumping the water out of the drain, out of his pipe, or God dang it, I can't even talk. The water bearer that is pouring the water out of the pot is trying to flush Pisces, the fish, down the river. All right, so we have to wait a little bit more and see how things continuously evolve and expose the truth as it continues to be exposed or manifest. So you have to really, be emotionally sound at this point and don't think of some of these establishment people as saviors. So first of all, that goes back to just constantly rebelling, not complying to the bullshit that's been happening over the last couple of years. But this also includes what you kind of focus on. So can we start to shift some of that consciousness by focusing on what your soul mission is? I've been ignoring things lately. Like my daily existence has been pretty normal, especially once I got out of shitty work last year. And it's kind of hard because you kind of want to stay in the loop of certain things, but you don't want to over focus and put too much energy into these negative things. However, you don't want to be completely ignorant as well. So you do want to maintain some form of awareness without getting lost and focusing all of your energy in that establishment consciousness. So if we constantly keep thinking about, World War III and all of this stuff, I do think on some deeper level, these things can kind of happen and manifest. So you have to stay focused on your mission, focus on God's work. Whatever Christians might have a different opinion on that in terms of, spreading the gospel and things like that. I mean, it's really funny as I've gotten involved in the antique market. It's amazing who I've run into and the type of people that look like little crusty creatures that are just digging up some old tools actually are pretty awakened and enlightened human beings that are super connected to God. So it's quite fascinating just watching things kind of evolve in your own life and being like, holy shit, am I having this conversation about this stuff with this person? I went into an antique mall and the owner of the antique mall just went on a 40-minute rant about, everything that he's against. Quite an interesting person back in the day when he ships a lot of antiques and buys a lot of antiques from Europe. And at one point he was in an SS soldier's house in Austria, and he just said the one corner was like dyed, if that's what you'd want to call it. Like there was so much candle wax like in this part of the house. And if you know anything about certain things like witchcraft and stuff, you're kind of like, God, what were these people doing in that house? Like, why is a wall splattered with so much candle wax? If you've ever seen any sort of ritualistic work, you kind of know some things are, it's just not coming from the higher realm. So you have to stay focused, be aware, but don't get lost in it, because I do think on some level, all of this stuff is just that infinity loop keeping us looped in, when we have to start breaking away and really choosing sovereignty and independence. That's part of, I don't know, co-creation. Maybe it's part of the future. I don't really know or have the answers to it, but I just know that every time I go on Facebook, I just see people so lost, and it's on both sides. They're so deep into this thing that I don't know if we can break out of it. All of the controlled opposition is there for a reason, and I just don't think these people are our saviors. It is possible that they could be on some level, but it's also possible that they are just playing the mind manipulation game, acting like a god, thinking that now we're gonna have free speech and all this stuff, and then eventually that rug's gonna get pulled out from under us because it's just owned by the same establishment, the people with special interests. So this the video I filmed last week, it kind of talks a little bit about what I call the Harvey Weinstein mandate. And so as you start to see or notice and recognize people who are believing in certain things, it's just really interesting. That's more connected to the lefties because they're the ones that believe a little bit more in the celebrity realm. However, there has been a little bit of that on the other side of the spectrum as well. It's a confusing situation. I know a lot of baby boomers who have grown up with the television are definitely a little bit more apt to getting stuck into some of this stuff because they're not as like woo-woo as some of the younger millennials or some of the really woken boomers that are definitely very different from their own generation. But some of them can get a little stuck on the television because they grew up with TV just the same way as millennials have. Like, that was the new invention. People found a trust in the media, found a trust in the television. There was so much drama and trauma, especially with men that were shipped off to World War I and II and the Korean War and the Cold War and all this shit, and they come back and contributed to this destruction of society because they either came back either batshit insane or started beating up their wives and stuff like that, and this destruction started happening. So a lot of people, I feel, in the mid-century, especially the baby boomers who were born in like kind of the late 40s and 50s and 60s, found a trust in the television because it was an escapism form. So there is a little bit, I feel, with some baby boomers they're a little bit more apt to believing, you know, the earth plane kind of celebrity thing. Yeah, so anyways, I don't know what the future has to hold. I do think, God, I don't know, why don't we just end the internet? Like, maybe that's just the resolution. Go back to having a human experience, end fucking Twitter, just delete the whole program, like Control Alt Delete. Like, maybe that will give us more sanity and actual more humanity in society, because we don't have to get all aroused over 140 characters that are getting misinterpreted by everybody. I don't know. But anyways, have a great rest of your day. Stay focused. Keep fueling the energy toward the rebellious consciousness, because rebellion is, as somebody who's an Aquarius, let me just say, when people start controlling me, it is like rebellion is just bubbling out of my skin to where it's like I just want to run away. So there, you know, that energy is very natural, and I think it's very natural for where we're kind of headed, where people just want to live their own life, do their own thing, and not be judged for it. Or just, you know, have the degrees of freedom to do whatever they want. That doesn't necessarily have to fit in with everybody else. There's pros and cons to that. You have everybody doing their own thing, you're never going to have a solid team or a society or a country that will stick and glue together. That is the one saving grace of a lot of the baby boomers, is that they really understand community and how to help each other. Obviously, the dark ones went out and, you know, exported everything and took advantage of other communities, like, you know, the Martha Stewart and Nike that did the slave wage labor across the seas. You know, there's light and darks in each generation, which maybe this will be a separate video in itself. But just know that we've been rebelling for 300 years against the oppressors and against shitty governments. And so that energy train kind of has to keep going in order for things to get better. All right, have a great one. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Bye-bye.